And there's a significant difference in knowing the works of God and knowing Him. What He has called us to is a relationship. He wants us to know Him. Look at what happens in 1 Samuel 5, 1 through 5. After the Philistines had captured the ark of God, they took it from Ebenezer to Ashdod, brought it into the temple of Dagon, and placed it next to his statue. When the people of Ashdod got up early the next morning, there was Dagon fallen with his face to the ground before the ark of the Lord. So they took Dagon and returned him to his place. Well, when they got up early the next morning, there was Dagon fallen with his face to the ground before the ark of the Lord. This time, Dagon's head and both of his hands were broken off and lying on the threshold. Only Dagon's torso remained. That is why still today the priest of Dagon and everyone who enters the temple of Dagon in Ashdod do not step on Dagon's threshold. It's such an interesting event in Scripture, isn't it? You have an inanimate object, the ark of the Lord, and an inanimate object, the statue of Dagon, and they come in conflict. They bring the Ark of the Covenant, place it with the idol of Dagon. Now you gotta understand who Dagon is, or who they thought he was. Dagon is nobody. Dagon's a false god. But who the Philistines thought Dagon was. See, the Philistines had a hierarchy of gods. Similar to if you study Greek mythology or Roman mythology, there's a hierarchy of gods and demigods, right? And so within the Philistine culture, they had Beelzebub, which you hear about another point in these books. They had Asherah. Asherah was the goddess. She was the wife of Dagon. Dagon was the top. He was the king. He was their top god. So they didn't just place the Ark of the Covenant next to one of their minor god statues. They put it in the temple of their biggest god's statue because they think, well, if the God of this box did everything he did in Egypt, then he deserves to be in the same room as our big God. Sounds great until you go to bed as a Philistine, and you wake up the next morning and you go to worship Dagon, and what do you see? Dagon's statue is laying on the ground. This is an idol that has fallen prostrate before the God of all gods. Right? It's crazy. Here's an idol of a pagan people. And God says to these pagan people, I'm better than Dagon. It's a merciful act by God to show his supremacy to a pagan people, to say, hey, look, quit worshiping that statue that can't stand in my mere presence. Falls. And isn't it silly that they pick the statue up, stand it back upright, probably then sit and worship that statue? A statue you just had to pick up off the ground. You're going to worship. Okay? So night 2 rolls around, and what happens the next morning? They come back. There it is again, except this time, Dagon's lost his head and his hands. They're laying over on the threshold. In my mind, I'm envisioning the priest of Philistines like having to step over. Like, do you step over Dagon's head? Do you go around it? Like, do they have protocol for that? And the end result is they changed their practice of worship because of what God's presence had revealed to them. Now, they didn't get it right. They didn't start worshiping the correct God. But look, the writer of 1 Samuel says, that is why still today, the priest of Dagon and everyone who enters the temple of Dagon in Ashdod do not step on Dagon's threshold. Why? Because his head and his hands were laying there at one time. They changed how they went about their false worship because they recognized something was different. Idols have to fall. And all idols in the presence of God will fall. There's not a single idol that can stand against who God is. And that's not just these gods of pagan lands. That's the idols in your life and in my life. See, remember the Israelites had made the ark an idol kind of by saying it will save us. All idols must fall. That's why I tell people all the time, if you really love someone, never elevate them above God. Because every idol will fall. Don't put people above God. Don't do it. We do this, right? Think about the things we put our trust in. Think about what our Dagons are. They're different for each one of you. Sometimes if we're not careful, even the things of God can become idols to us. Hey, I love our church staff. But if you are coming here because of our church staff rather than because of God, don't do that to us. You're setting us up to fall. I love this church body. And I hope you love this church body and feel a real sense of community here. But if you come here just because you get to be with your brothers and sisters in this location, don't do that to them. You gather to worship God, whether it's with this body or any body that you're around. We cannot put the things of God above God himself. Every idol must fall if we are to see our King for who he is, if we're to know him fully.